Dreyer. In the great American novel, To Kill a Mockingbird, the author Harper Lee describes Macomb, a town heavily affected by the Great Depression. It reads, "Macomb was an old town, but it was a tired old town when I first knew it. In rainy weather, the streets turned to red slop. Grass grew on the sidewalks, the courthouse sagged in the square. There was no hurry, for there was nowhere to go, nothing to buy, and no money to buy it with." The Great Depression was one of the darkest times in our nation's history. Some of your great-grandparents were even alive to live and see the event. Throughout my time studying the Great Depression all 4 years of high school and listening to my great-grandmother speak on the subject, I believe I have a fairly good understanding of the Great Depression. In this speech, I'll be talking about the cause of the Great Depression, the effects of the Great Depression, and how it was resolved. First, let's talk about the Great Depression, how the Great Depression came to fruition. The Great Depression began with the stock market crash of 1929. Stock prices began to decline and panic ensued after Black Tuesday, the day in which Americans lost billions of dollars and countless investors. The failure in the stock market forced more than half of the U.S.'s banks to shut down. These shutdowns aided heavily in creating the Great Depression. The Dust Bowl was another factor in why the Great Depression was as great as it was. The thousands of dead animals and crops created another dead end in the already struggling American economy. Now that we have found the cause of the Great Depression, next is the effects of this event. The numerous effects of the Great Depression created new problems that the American public had to deal with. Americans began to welcome crime into their countries as they had lost much of their confidence in their government. They hailed many bank robbers as heroes, such as the notorious Bonnie and Clyde and John Dillinger. The lack of money in the banks and in the overall population created an extremely weak economy. According to statistics from the History Channel, the unemployment rate rose to an astounding 30%, and the stock market was a mere 20% of what it was a couple of years prior. The lack of food created by the Dust Bowl and the lack of jobs made it extremely difficult for many families to obtain proper amounts of food. This left many Americans malnourished and sickly. Like most depressions, our economy was able to pull through and improve due to a couple of important reasons. Through numerous government reforms, the U.S. was able to reverse the effects of the Great Depression. Created by Franklin D. Roosevelt, the New Deal was a set of various projects and programs that were created to bring wealth and prosperity to the American people. The Social Security Act was implemented as a safety net for elderly people who could not work and support themselves during these harsh times. The final reason the U.S. was able to pull itself out of the Great Depression was down to the American perseverance that we have shown throughout many dark times in our history. In conclusion, the Great Depression was created by the stock market crash of 1929 and the Dust Bowl. It affected and changed the lives of millions of Americans, and many governmental reforms helped eliminate the Great Depression. This should give you all a better understanding of what the Great Depression was truly like. History always repeats itself, so always be careful with your finances and never take your wealth for granted.